A&E TV. It gives us immense pleasure this morning to welcome with us the owner of Bovet Watches, Mr. Pascal Raffy. Mr. Raffy, good morning and welcome to our morning coffee. To kickstart our conversation, can you let us know a bit about your morning routine?
Good morning, Lara. It's the same shared pleasure to have this moment of life together. My mornings are about my secret garden. I wake up very early in the morning, not after 5 a.m., whatever is the season. And I enjoy in the castle where I design, think my timepieces. Very early, my Havana cigars with a good coffee, very fresh water. And it takes me this 1 hour and a half where I consider my day, my projects, my watchmaking house, my children, my family. It's about these moments of absolute luxury where you reconsider everything. So this is the way I wake up every morning.
That's very interesting. To move forward, we all know that since the day you took over in 2001, it was a big turning point in the life of the brand of Bovet. I just need to know more about your vision, your direction for the brand. How are you going to move forward? How are you moving forward with it globally and for the region?
I think a watchmaking house like the Bovet one, which is synced in a tradition of nearly 2 centuries of uniqueness, craftsmanship, decorative arts, innovation, a lot of patents, with a glorious period between 1822 and the early 1970s, has to be preserved, respected in its watchmaking, the way you master your mechanics, but also the way you dress a timepiece, because the two things go together. My vision for Bovet is the same one that I have for my children at home. It's all about sustainability, quality before than any consideration of quantity. Being a family-owned house, my productivity or my rentability, I calculate them by myself. I'm not under the pressure of a shareholder meeting every year to have 20% dividends mandatory. I rather prefer not to sell my soul and to please my collectors with these touches of additional pleasure and emotion that a timepiece must bring to you. We don't need watches to live. We have our mobiles. We are all slaves of this machine nowadays. We need timepieces for the emotion, for that detail with good taste, which makes the difference. So the way I consider my house has to be the transmission of my values in a way where in 20, 30 years, I would love my children to be proud of their watchmaking house.
To what extent today storytelling and touching emotions is still relevant in a fast-paced world and fast-paced mode of communication?
This word is driven by two main ideas, like these two hands to applaud. One is globalization. It's useful, has a lot of good parts. But the other one has to be based on tradition, values, which does not mean that you are old-fashioned or unable to innovate year after year. The place of Bovet in that word has to be the place like this beautiful traiteur, where you would go to prepare a very beautiful meal. It has to be that market where you go and you choose by yourself the ingredients because of the flavors, the colors, and you prepare a meal for your friends. It's not the word of quantity, it's the word of what makes true luxury. True luxury, I think people nowadays get confused. Luxury is only three things: a clear identity with small quantities, if not it becomes a supermarket, and then absolutely handcrafted. And all this is related to a philosophy to implement in a watchmaking house. Watchmaking house presenting uniqueness. If your project of life is based on uniqueness because it's the way of living that you like, it's going to be the word of Bovet. The word of Bovet is not about quantity, it's about quality.
I was just going to ask you about what sets the brand apart from the rest of the watchmaking maison.
My point of view has always been the same. When you are solid on your values, you don't need to compare your house to anybody else. You do respect absolutely everyone. Everyone is respectable on its project, the way he sees or she sees her house, her company. The house of Bovet is unique in its offer, and we can start from the design. Sometimes you are seated, I think it happens to you also, in public places, And at 2, 3 tables, you see a gentleman with a very nice watch, but you can get confused on the brand name. Luxury is a clear identity, and with the bow or the writing desk shape of the recital timepieces, you're never confused. You know it's a Bovet timepiece.
Recognizable.
Exactly. And a true house is also an address. Mm-hmm. The house of Bovet has a true address, which is the castle of Motier, where the family of Bovet started doing timepieces since nearly 2 centuries. So where Bovet is standing, Bovet is defending its values, its project on the very long term without selling its soul, but trying to push every year, step after step, further mechanics, the way to dress timepieces, but never betraying the values of the house, which is absolutely quality before than anything.
It's an amazing legacy to carry. We're speaking about 2 centuries of trust and heritage. How hard is it to maintain and respect the history of a brand and still remain relevant and appealing to talking to the day's crowd?
If it had to be difficult, it means you are not the right person to defend these values. Mm-hmm. If it becomes every morning a pure pleasure, and then you enter in the field of responsibility because that patrimony is respectable, mm-hmm. It's an absolute delight every morning. And where we don't have to get confused, not to mix precipitation with speed. A project, to settle a project, to transmit to children, has to be based on vision, but again, with steps thought, matured, mastered, with wisdom. If this is the project, a company becomes a house. Then you don't have employees, you have an extended family. Mm-hmm. Because at that level of watchmaking, when you have more than 700 components in a timepiece, if one artisan fails, your timepiece will never work. So you're sharing values of life for uniqueness, beauty, quality, where again, quality is more important than any concept of quantity. Then you bring to your collectivity of collectors through the globe what is called sustainability, watchmaking integrity, human dimension. You don't sell a Bovet timepiece. You transmit a Bovet timepiece. You explain it, like yesterday evening, thanks to the extraordinary Sediki family, when we have been invited to a collector's dinner where you see the knowledge that people are bringing to the table. Why? Because we do think the same way. You establish a house like the Bovet house, but for that you need to be also a true house. And as you know, the Sediki house is an absolute one.
Speaking of offers and offerings, we were just at SIHH
Mm-hmm.
a few months ago, and we'd like to know more about what did Bovet present for men and women, and we're going to stop a little bit more on the special women's recital watch.
I would love to start with the ladies' timepiece.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you why. As a selfish collector, I took over the house of Bovet to please myself. I was collecting 2, 3 brands with a lot of passion for more than 30 years. I'm 55 years old. And when I took the house of Bovet, I wanted to express my watchmaking, to know what I would love to wear on my wrist every morning, depending on the weather, the way I'm vested, the cars of my collection I'm driving. And I forgot a little the ladies' timepieces. And thanks to my 2 princesses, my 2 daughters, they woke me up one day saying, I think you're forgetting something, is to express watchmaking art to ladies also. We achieved this year, I think, one of the major timepieces of the year. It's the Recital 23. Mm-hmm. The Recital 23 is the writing slope timepiece. It is based on, again, a movement which is handcrafted in-house. That writing desk design makes that time comes naturally to your eyes, and with the precision moon face, which is absolutely handcrafted in-house, and the true topography of the moon. The Recital 23 got an absolute great success during the fair. I'm delighted because I felt, like responsible. I missed something. And definitely, this timepiece will stay like an icon in the Bovet collections, declined in red gold and or titanium, and any other bespoke finishings that we had requests during the fair, because the House of Bovet is about bespoke, is to please your collector, answering without presenting a straight collection. I love to listen to different cultures, tastes. So Recital 23 definitely has been one of the
showstoppers.
Vraiment. Now we will speak about the gents. As usual, every year, I very much insist that the House of Bovet presents true novelties. With all due respect, for me, a novelty has to be based on the heart of a timepiece. The heart of a timepiece will always stay a movement, beautifully finished, with all the finishings that the house masters since centuries. And we presented after the Shooting Star, the Asterium, the Grand Recital, awarded last year by the Aiguille d'Or in Geneva, absolutely deserved, with the Brainstorm, which is the fourth chapter of two hands I want to express, like 10 fingers, through the Writing Slope collection. And this year I wanted that we put everything in perspective of transparency. The Grand Recital, as you know, is a tellurium based on a perpetual calendar retrograde with a globe hand-painted through microscope. And this year I wanted to represent transparency. So we designed a Writing Slope case in sapphire, very difficult to polish because our bezel is also convex. And inside you have a movement inclined with 9 degrees angle, 10 days power reserve, the patented rewinding system of Bovet where you rewind 10 days in 80 turns of crown, a pure luxury for a collector, and a precision moon face again. It has been very much appreciated. We are delighted. And that Writing Slope shape has been declined in 3 major middle complications. This is for this collection. The second hand of Bovet is the historical design of the pocket timepiece at the wrists. With its bow, you recognize it on the spot. And we introduced a major tourbillon, which is a dual time zone with reverse hand fitting, the Amadeo system case, which allows you without any tool to convert your timepiece in a table clock, in a true pocket timepiece. So these two expressions of Bovet of beautiful conservative, the other side, the Recital collection, to answer to two tastes of conservative and or more modern. But the two of them have a lot of innovation, patents every single year.
What is the challenge you faced since you took the helm at Bovet, and what did you do to overcome it?
I have to tell you, no effort. I can answer you very clearly because it's what happens to all of us, for yourself, for myself, whenever you have a house to build. We can buy buildings, we can buy finance machinery. The only thing you can never finance, whatever is your wealth, is a sincere smile. A sincere smile translated to a house with 102 artisans who must all of them share the same values that you want to defend in your watchmaking. This is the biggest challenge. And if you had to ask me what is the first asset of the House of Bovet, is that specific victory. We are in beautiful Switzerland between the headquarters in Geneva, the castle, 80 kilometers far from Geneva, and the facility, 142 kilometers far from Geneva, plus 2 daughter companies, one in Hong Kong, one in the United States. We are 102. It is absolutely impossible to follow 102 human beings. If they do not follow your philosophy of the beautiful, respectful, and respectable, you cannot do it. And it's only the human dimension which makes that when your teams understand that for you the most important is that quality and integrity, and you realize that you can achieve it, this is the biggest victory ever. But you have to maintain it, you have to feed it, and you feed it with sincerity. I'm a very strict person, but with a big heart. I'm a very strict person. I never negotiate my values, my quality, the uniqueness of the house. I love my team. I love my people, and I love to protect them because they are at the level to be considered as genius artisans. To achieve these timepieces, the level is very, very high.
Speaking of achievement, what is it that you still aim to achieve that you haven't achieved yet?
The timepiece of our 200th anniversary in 2022, my engineers, watchmakers, designers always tell me every single year, Mr. Raffy, this year it's impossible. Do not even think about it. And I love the victory. When you start the first meeting, we are 20 around the big table at the facility. And we do our cases, our dials, our hands, our movements, our hairsprings. We do a lot of components for aeronautics, for medical care, because our standards are very much respected. And it always starts, Mr. Raffy, it's impossible. This year, you have to forget it. And the journey is fantastic. It takes 6 months, 8 months, sometimes 12 months to fine-tune a movement below 3 years. You cannot do it. It takes a long, long time. And after all that journey, it becomes possible. And I love always to tell them, they all say it's impossible until the moment we do it.
Which prepares you for the next challenge.
We need challenges every morning. It's much better to be busy than the contrary, as you know. And challenges are the oxygen of life.
Of course. Speaking about oxygen and speaking about challenges, what is your professional motto?
Perennity. Solidity, perennity, and family. It could sound a little curious when I talk about family, regardless to the side of the way to develop Bovet. I only consider Bovet through the fact to make it perenne to my children who will have to be at the level to defend it, to strengthen it with the same philosophy for uniqueness and quality. This is the vision. But by family, I'm lucky to have three children from my blood, but I also have 102 natural children. The house of Bovet is a big family, like this house.
It's your baby.
Exactly.
All right, we're going to speak a little bit about you because, of course, it's so interesting always to mirror to our readers and our viewers who are the people that hold the reins of those amazing maisons and to tell a bit about them. With your expertise in life, what piece of advice, if you look back at the younger you would give yourself?
Oh, this is very interesting. I think in the course of a life, every decade represents a very specific maturity in your wisdom, the way you see the things, you consider the things. I'm 55 years old. Do I have to regret moments in my life? Yes, because we all do mistakes. Sometimes my passion took over my reason. And the advice is always to try to find the right balance between passion and reason. But it's the journey of a lifetime. Apart from this, I absolutely adore the course of my life. I like the way I did it, is always never selling my soul, my principles. It's not easy. But again, it depends on the project. The important is what has to be the end of the journey. With which values, which quality, which uniqueness, and what is the message you're going to transmit to the next generation. I love the course of my life. I'm fine with it.
Speaking of courses, we're moving a little bit on destinations and travel. What does travel mean to you, and how do you see that it had shaped up the person you are today?
It's very important. I'm born in Lebanon. I'm German origin, French national, born in Lebanon. Traveling is, I think, a second nature. But traveling is also something very important to me, is the open mind. Listen to the others, respect the other cultures. Never arrive with a prioris, the biggest mistake in life. To learn from the others, to listen to the others, and to build yourself also through the others. Different cultures will open your mind, will make you more serene, more understandable. So traveling for me is first of all a lesson of life.
Okay. To what do you say no to?
Mediocrity. It's very clear. I hate mediocrity. I have no time for that. It's perhaps the thing which is the most difficult for me to accept.
What do you think, in your opinion, are the prerequisites in making up a successful entrepreneur?
Absolute determination, but determination based on loyalty. A long-term vision, methodology, discipline. The discipline you have to apply to yourself before then asking to anyone the said discipline. Standards of quality, uniqueness, savoir-vivre, generosity. To be generous does not mean you're weak. I think it absolutely means the contrary. Mm-hmm. And again, never build your success on the shoulders of your neighbor. If you know what you are doing, it depends on the density of the challenge. It will take more or less time. And patience.
Patience. Is there a book that you're reading now?
No. I'm reading nowadays the designs and the notes I do for my timepieces. It's my passion for the next 5-6 years.
What is a life lesson that you can share with us after an experience that you faced?
I will summarize it saying that the important in life is not to shine. The important in life is to last.
And if you were to describe Bovet in one word, what would it be?
Absolute uniqueness. So uniqueness.
Thank you so much. Mr. Pascal, it was such a pleasure having you with us on the Morning Coffee.
Thank you for joining us on the Morning Coffee. Stay tuned and see you next time.